The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Jeff here at the Weather Service office. I just started the broadcast. We'll get started here in about 2 to 3 minutes. You should be able to hear me okay and see my screen. All right, good morning from the National Weather Service in Wakefield. This is Wednesday morning. We're going to be kind of highlighting the risk of severe weather expected here on Thursday, as well as some of the issues with heat, which we're going to feel today and tomorrow, and then especially next week. So, kind of getting ahead of that, but then also focusing on the potential for some severe storms combined with that heat for tomorrow. So we'll jump right into it. Just kind of the highlights are in our briefing. I won't go over these. I just kind of mention these. As far as the weather pattern and kind of what's going on in the bigger picture, I mean, right now it's a very, very pleasant day. Obviously, a lot of sunshine out there today, so a lot of building heat, also quite a bit of humidity with those dew points being pretty high. But for the most part, we are fairly clear across at least the eastern 2/3 of the Commonwealth. Once you get west of the mountains, there's a bit more cloud cover. And if you look way west of there across the Midwest, there's a lot of cloud cover to our west. But we are locked into the sunshine for really today and really for a good bit of tomorrow as well, which is going to help to drive those heat indices up pretty high. If you look at the weather map itself, you can kind of see here in the bigger picture across the country, just a few little scattered showers here across parts of West Virginia, getting down into Western Virginia. But the bulk of any shower and thunderstorm activity is way to the west out here over parts of Oklahoma, and then kind of coming up into parts of into the Great Lakes here region. So that's where our cold front is located way out to the west. You kind of see here on the weather map on the very, very western fringe here for today and tonight. You do see this cold front that's way to the west, and a little bit of a kind of a heat trough across the mid-Atlantic here across the Commonwealth, and that may spark off a few showers and storms today, but the main weather maker is way out to the west, and that's why we only have a very small chance for showers and storms today. Much better chance late tomorrow as this cold front approaches. So as we get into tomorrow here on Thursday, you do see that cold front starting to make its way across Kentucky and Tennessee, and you still kind of have this trough of low pressure here sitting kind of right along the central part of Virginia, extends up into Maryland. And as this front gets closer and closer and approaches, this is actually going to light up. This we call it a Piedmont trough is going to light up here late tomorrow afternoon and evening. And with all that heat, it's going to become very outflow driven and start to create a lot of wind, and could actually increase the coverage in thunderstorms probably just ahead of the front. So most of the storm activity probably won't be with the cold front itself, but will probably develop as that front approaches, kind of puts that squeeze on the atmosphere. This kind of trough, this Piedmont trough is going to light up and start to develop some pretty healthy storms probably pretty quickly, and then make its way east through the late afternoon, especially the evening hours. But by the time you get into Friday, you see that cold front is pushed offshore. High pressure is building in, and so Friday and Saturday are going to be fairly seasonable. Not going to be too hot with the high pressure sitting in place. Saturday would kind of be the same. So things get very tranquil as soon as we get this front pushed offshore on Friday. High pressure builds in, and things we're in store for a really, really nice weekend. Just got to get through today and tomorrow. So for today, there is a marginal risk, level 1 risk that we could see a few strong storms here over northern Virginia and over parts of Maryland Eastern Shore over here. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But the bigger risk really is kind of keyed in on Thursday. This is where we're expecting that slight risk, level 2 risk really across the entire region. And then Friday morning, there could be a rumble of thunder here across southeast Virginia. That's really going to be early Friday morning. No chance of severe weather. Really, really not expecting much at all on Friday. This little light green area for thunderstorm activity is really for Friday morning. So it should be a really nice day overall. So since we're just talking about today, I'll throw kind of one of the models over here. This is the HRRR. This is for today that we were talking about. So going to see maybe some widely scattered showers and storms maybe popping up over parts of the mountains, maybe far northern Virginia here at about 2 o'clock this afternoon. And with the heating, you do see a little bit more development here across the northern parts of Virginia, getting up into parts of Maryland here. And that's why we have that marginal risk is really up here, up to the north. And you do see more thunderstorm activity trying to develop up there versus the rest of the Commonwealth. And that does kind of push east. This is getting to about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It does kind of weaken as it gets into Salisbury and Ocean City. We'll see, but you kind of see that little flare up there over northern Virginia and then getting over into Maryland, mainly late this afternoon and early this evening. And that's why you have that marginal risk. That's kind of just highlighted up here in the very far northern part of the Commonwealth and in Maryland. So not much of a threat as far as today is concerned. For tomorrow, there is a bit more of a threat. Pretty good confidence that we're going to see some showers and storms developing, and we'll kind of step through that. So it's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. We're going to have that front approaching from the west. So we're going to have a few things in place that should be able to get us those thunderstorms. As far as the main threat, it's probably going to be wind. We'll talk more about that. Maybe a little bit of hail. The Storm Prediction Center does have us in a very low threat of tornadoes. We'll see about that. I think the main threat's really going to be wind. And the overall timing runs around from about 4 p.m. To about midnight. And we'll come back to the timing here in just a minute. This breaks down the threat each day. In fact, this should say slight risk, so I apologize for that. But there's a slight risk for wind damage for tomorrow. Again, on the tornado side of it, you can kind of see here the area that Storm Prediction Center has highlighted for a very, very low probability of a potential tornado, mainly along and north of 64. And I think that probability is pretty low. These are going to be very high-based storms, going to be more wind producers, and that gets us into that middle slide, where the better threat really everywhere is for those strong winds, those strong straight line winds. Again, because you get these thunderstorms popping up, it's going to be hot, it's going to be humid, and so these things can lay out quite a bit of wind. And sometimes you just got to be near the storm, and you can get a good 40, 45 mile per hour wind out of it, as long as you're just somewhere near the storm and not even get much rain. As far as the hail probability, pretty low there as well. The atmosphere is going to be so hot. There'll be ice in the storms, but some of that hail melts before it reaches the ground. But there's a low probability here that we could see some severe hail getting up to about quarter size. But again, the slight risk, this should say slight, but the slight risk, the best risk really is for those damaging winds. Trying to time it out, you see for today, very, very, very low chances, about only 15 to 20% chances of precipitation, showers and storms today. You see kind of the probability here late this afternoon, evening, of a few thunderstorms across the area, not much. Much better chance is tomorrow. And if you notice, it really is kind of geared after about 3 o'clock or so. Maybe here out in the west in Goochland and Louisa, maybe you're getting up to about a 40 to 50% chance between, I'd say, 3 and 5. But it's kind of a late day type of an event. Most of us see the better chances of showers and even thunderstorm activity here. You see the probability of thunder is really pretty late. I think for most of us, it's going to be probably 5 o'clock and later, maybe even as late as midnight. You kind of see the chances here between 9 and midnight. Kind of continue to see the chances of thunderstorms late in the evening. It should be diminishing by about midnight. Things should be off the coast, I'd say, by about 10 or 11. So for most of us, the day's going to be pretty clear, going to be hot. And those thunderstorms get going really late afternoon and more like into the evening hours. So, what does that kind of look like maybe? We're going to be looking at the NAM nest here, a model simulation of how things might go. So this is 4 o'clock on Thursday. Take it with a grain of salt, but you're kind of starting to see those showers and storms developing here over the Piedmont. Could be a little bit more activity than this at 4 o'clock. Remember, this is just a simulation, so things could definitely look different. But I think this has the general flavor, as far as what we think is going to occur. And a lot of the other models are showing something similar. So 4 to 5 o'clock, maybe 3 to 4, let's say 3 to 4, things are developing in the Piedmont. As you step ahead in time, you do start to see more and more showers and storms developing as the system pushes east into the Piedmont. It could even be more than this. And you're kind of almost getting this weird broken line of showers and storms. And that's because the area is pushing east into an area that's very hot, going to have a lot of moisture in it. So you would expect the storms to expand, become more widespread. And a lot of these stronger storms, because of the heat, they're going to be able to produce quite a bit of wind, and they're going to become what we call outflow driven. And you can see it continues to kind of blow up as it maybe approaches the bay and the coast by about 7 p.m. All the way from Salisbury down through Tangier, even coming down here towards the Middle Peninsula, and eventually down into central North Carolina. So could be a pretty good band of showers and storms kind of blowing up here as the system pushes east into a very hot, humid air mass. And this is showing you about maybe 7 p.m. Quickly jumps to the coast by about 8 o'clock and eventually blows offshore. So, don't expect to see a whole lot early in the afternoon. If I back it up to like 1 o'clock, there's not a whole lot going on. But then as things do start to really develop here, I'd say between about 3 and 5 o'clock. Again, I think there could be a lot more activity than what you're seeing here over central Virginia. This is probably middle of the road, but I think we could see those showers and storms really starting to blossom there right around rush hour, and then kind of really rushing to the coast and continuing to expand. And you can definitely start to see the wind signatures here and these little bows that the model thinks that's going to start to set up as the storm gets going. So that's why you see that wind threat really kind of being the highest, really for all of us, where we get that potential for strong damaging winds, anywhere from, I'd say, 45 upwards of, let's say, 65-mile-per-hour winds with these storms as they push east. This is just kind of showing you this is the composite reflectivity version of just what I showed you, which does show more activity. You see it developing kind of west of Richmond here between, I'd say, 3 and 4, really blossoming here around 5 to 6 o'clock or so across central Virginia, and the whole system continues to push towards the coast between 7 and 9 p.m. So kind of just what I showed you. This is the composite reflectivity of what I just showed you. So same model. I'm just kind of showing you how widespread those storms could be. And again, going to be really wind-driven storms. And again, it's going to be the kind of storm where, especially out towards the rivers and the bay and the coast, we could easily see, 40, 45 mile per hour winds plus over a wide area there across all of our tidal rivers, the bay, the ocean. So not only a threat on land, but could also be a significant threat to mariners later in the day as this wind pushes through, because I would expect kind of a wall of wind to push out through our bay and coastal waters. So something to keep in mind. So mainly expect some damaging winds, trees down, a few power outages, things like that as the system comes through. As far as the potential for heavy rainfall, really, really low risk. Today, where you saw the storms, to the north, there's a very, very low risk that we could see some heavy downpours. Thursday, we are in a marginal risk for excessive rainfall, but you saw how fast those storms are moving. So basically, folks that get the heavy rain, that get that downpour, it's going to be a deluge of rainfall, but it's not going to last that long. And so the potential for flooding is very, very, very low. So just a marginal risk that we could see some heavy downpours, but I would not expect a lot of flooding. It'd be very, very isolated and very localized if we did, because the storms are going to be moving pretty quickly at about, let's say, anywhere from 30 to 40 miles per hour. So they're going to be progressing through the area and not really hanging out. As far as overall rainfall amounts, because the storms are moving so quickly, we're going to average about maybe a quarter to a half inch of rain. You definitely see more rainfall as you get I-95 east than west. And you saw how those thunderstorms kind of expanded in area as you got in the I-95 corridor to east. And that's why you are seeing more, average coverage of rainfall. Could some folks pick up an inch and a half of rain at one spot? It could happen. You get that heavy downpour that lasts for maybe 30 minutes, and you pick up a quick inch of rain. But for the most part, this is not going to be a flood situation. And most of the heavy rainfall that comes through, it's going to be brief and really come through after about 3 to 4 o'clock. So you kind of see here the accumulations between 2 and 8 p.m. That's kind of your best 6-hour window where you might be able to pick up some quick rainfall. And then after that, it's pretty much over. You saw how fast the line of storms passed through. Overall rainfall going through the next 7 days, the map doesn't look much different. This is the rainfall for tomorrow, and the 7-day rainfall map does not look very much different. So that basically just means after today, after tomorrow, we're not expecting much rainfall at all. So we'll get some rain tomorrow. It won't last very long, and that's really going to be about it for about the next week or so. The story really is going to become about heat. Now for today, these are the heat indices for today. So right around upper 90s to maybe low 100s for today. Tomorrow, a little bit warmer. Temperatures are going to be a little bit warmer. We got that humidity. So I-95 corridor probably flirting with the low 100s, right around 100. And Southeast Virginia, just below that 105 mark. 105 is our heat advisory criteria. So we might not quite get there tomorrow. But we are going to be getting into that, I'd say, between 100 to 105 for a lot of the area tomorrow. Even up here in Maryland, maybe looking at some heat indices here getting close to 100. So tomorrow, even though today's hot, tomorrow is going to be even warmer than today. Looking at the daily temperatures, you kind of see here today and tomorrow, are the hottest days. We do get a break from the heat on Friday and Saturday. Sunday, you do notice some of these high temperatures. This is just the air temperatures, not heat index. The heat does come back a little bit here on Sunday. And then you really see these are air temperatures now, not the heat index. You really see these temperatures kicking in pretty good for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This is even going to go into Thursday and Friday, probably, where the air temperatures are going to be very, very hot. And when you combine that with the heat and humidity, these are now the maximum heat indices, across the region. So again, today and tomorrow, low 100s, upper 90s, low 100s. Tomorrow, maybe a little bit warmer, getting a few more 102 to 103 degree readings as far as the heat index goes. Better on Friday and Saturday, but then once you get to Sunday, and especially Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we could be getting a little bit of a heat wave setting up for us for next week. And again, I think this heat's going to continue on even into Thursday and Friday. So just something to think about planning ahead for next week with cooling shelters, and is there going to be a need to kind of work with some outdoor populations, planning of activities, work and things like that. Next week does look like it's going to be a pretty warm week. If I actually throw some of the probabilities, this is from the Weather Prediction Center. This is their probabilistic heat forecast. It only goes out to Wednesday, but I'll just pull up for Tuesday. This is the probability of 105 degrees. So the 105 degree probability across the region is almost a slam dunk. The probability of 110 is still pretty high across a pretty wide area here of the Commonwealth. So we're going to have to watch out for this. We are kind of ground zero for the heat. This does continue into into Wednesday, where the Wednesday probability of 105 degrees, again, pretty high here across central Virginia, even getting into parts of eastern Virginia and the Piedmont. Probability of 110 on Wednesday. Still a pretty decent probability, 40 to 70% chance. That's pretty high for this early out, for this far out, that you're going to see maybe some heat indices of 110. So something we're just really going to have to watch out for. This is a great page from the Weather Prediction Center. So this will continue to update with these extended heat outlooks here. That kind of gives you the probability of heat, further out in the extended part of the forecast. So something we're going to be watching. That's probably going to become the big story as we get into next week, is going to be this building heat, and we'll see how long that heat lasts. No rip currents to worry about today. No tropical activity going on out there. Obviously, with next week being hot, you do see, we're pretty much bullseyed here that we're going to see a prolonged period of above normal temperatures. And this goes out to 8 to 14 days. So this goes all the way out to July 1st. So we are looking at maybe a potentially prolonged period of some really warm temperatures, and maybe a little bit of a heat wave kind of nestled in there a little bit, but very, very high confidence that it's going to be really warm across the mid-Atlantic and parts of the north here for a long period of time. Rainfall wise, kind of getting back to near normal, kind of just not much rainfall after tomorrow. It's going to be pretty dry for a while with just this big, hot, humid, high pressure over us. Not going to be much precipitation, just mainly going to be heat. On the marine side, we did just put up a little bit of a small craft advisory here for the lower bay, then the James for today. Kind of see here this area in orange for today, where the winds, so southwest winds are kind of picking up there, getting up to about maybe 20 to 22 knots out of the southwest, gusting. Does linger a little bit into tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Still going to be a little bit breezy here, mainly on the bay and the rivers. But once that cold front pushes through on Friday, you don't see as much of a threat, maybe just a little bit of 15 knots of wind here on the bay. But we lose the small craft advisory conditions after tomorrow. And this is just a breakdown of those winds. We see those southwest winds pick up today. They picked up a little bit today. They linger in through tomorrow with those southwest winds of 20 knots. And then that cold front pushes through right here. But if you notice that cold front, there's not much wind with it. The winds go from southwest to northwest, and they actually decrease. So it's a cold front kind of in name only. The temperatures are going to drop a little bit, but there's not much wind with this front at all. And that's why we're just going to see a little bit of a decrease in the humidity. And maybe we lose a little bit of the hot temperatures, but it comes right back for Sunday. Sunday, the winds become south again, bring the humidity back, and that sets the stage up for next week. Again, this is just kind of looking at the winds here in the bigger picture, sustained versus gusts. So small craft advisory conditions on the bay and the rivers today. It does linger into tomorrow, and then things do improve on Friday. And once that front pushes through, those winds actually decrease Friday afternoon. And weekend on the marine side looks really nice. For some pretty nice winds with no risk of thunderstorms finally. And again, wave heights today, maybe around 3 feet or so on the bay, about 3 to 4 feet for the most part on the coastal waters. So that's all that we have for today. We will do another live briefing tomorrow at 11. So basically kind of updating folks on what it looks like by late morning and how it looks like the afternoon is going to play out with those thunderstorms as they push through. So we'll update everybody with that tomorrow.